I know we've been talking about these average homeowners. This is their American dream. And Commissioner, it's really turned into a nightmare for so many people who are being forced to sell their homes. Homes are going into foreclosure. It's just not affordable anymore. What is your response to these many viewers who have been emailing me and calling me saying, what can be done? Can the Commissioner help us?
Well, certainly I get the same emails, I get the same phone calls, weekly, if not daily, from people that are saying, I can no longer afford my homeowner's insurance. And that is part of what is incentivizing and driving us to make these changes. Louisiana is facing a crisis, and we certainly are in a deep homeowners crisis, but we also have an auto crisis. But with regards to homeowners specifically, we can't change the weather. We do have a large percentage of our population that lives in proximity to the coast, which means we have a large percentage of our insured properties that are in proximity to the coast. So one of the things that we're doing, which can directly impact rates, is to promote the Fortified Roof Program, either through the grant program that the department administers, or encouraging individuals, if they can, to fortify their roofs individually without going through the program. Through the Fortified Roof Program, you can get up to $10,000 towards fortifying your roof. You do get a discount. Insurance companies have filed rates, credits with the Department of Insurance.
How much of a discount will they get, and how much does it help?
They range from anywhere from, I think, as low. I think initially companies filed 5%. They have to be actuarially justified, but they started with 5%, and I've seen several carriers have increased their percentage, somewhere up to 15%. Some 20%. But I want to caution your viewers to understand that percentage is applied to the wind portion of their insurance. It's not their entire premium. And I think a lot of people think if I get a 10%, it's 10% off the total. It does have to be applied to the wind portion. But that's one way to directly impact your insurance premiums in a positive way immediately. And I say immediately, you have to get the fortified roof. We're encouraging the legislature to continue to fund that program through the next year, and then we're going to find some outside and more stable funding sources for the future. And something else I want your viewers to also understand or be aware of is that you can also apply for a tax credit. If you do choose to do the roof yourself, you can get up to $5,000 towards your, as a tax credit if you choose to take on that expense yourself.
Okay, all right. I know that you want to amend and get rid of the 3-year rule, which is supposed to help homeowners because it prevents insurance companies from dropping you after 3 years if you've been a customer. Can you tell us how that would help the average homeowner? Because then they may be forced to go into Citizens, which is the insurer of last resort, and that's by nature, by law, more expensive. So how would getting rid of the 3-year rule help the average homeowner?
Well, look, a lot of these things that we're talking about, bills that we're proposing in the legislature, are counterintuitive. People tend to think that you pass a bill to make insurance lower. Well, you cannot force insurance companies to lower rates. What you can do is create a competitive environment where competition takes over, and that will lower insurance rates through competition. The 3-year rule is effectively a law that says once your homeowner's carrier has given you 3 renewals in a row, that they can't cancel your coverage except for a very narrow set of circumstances. You fail to pay your premium, a material change in risk, the condition of your home has changed, a couple of items like that. But in Louisiana, Louisiana is this only state that has this law in place. And so insurance companies, like businesses, they get to pick and choose where they do business. And Louisiana, if we're an outlier with a 3-year rule, well then that does not incentivize companies to want to come in and do business in the state of Louisiana. And so what we're proposing is a gradual doing away with the law. What we're asking the legislature to support, and I know it's a tough support because a lot of people think it's protection. They think it's consumer protection, but I hear stories every day. People saying, "I can't afford my insurance." So if you can't afford your insurance, what good does it you to get a renewal quote that you can't even afford? So we want to promote a competitive marketplace. But we're going to ask the legislature to support the companies that have these legacy 3-year policies that they can non-renew up to 5%. 5%. It's a small percentage. Now, I understand if you're one of that 5%, then that's everything to you. But we have to start to create an environment that insurance companies want to come back in and do business, and that is an important step.
Yeah, and you also want to allow insurance companies to raise rates more often.
Well, again, it's counterintuitive. All the other businesses in Louisiana, free market reigns. You get to change rates, you get to change your pricing as conditions allow. And again, it's an inhibitor to promoting a healthy competitive environment. The prior commissioner, had a desk rule in place,
Yeah.
and he said they could only change rates once every 12 months.
And they had to get approval too, right? If they
And they
wanted
have to
to
get
raise
approval.
rates.
That's right. And the legislature last year changed it
Yeah.
and says insurance companies can change rates whenever they want, as long as they're actuarially justified. Insurance it's a little bit different. You sell the product, you collect the premium, and you don't know if you've made money or not until after the policy ends. So you could have a hurricane during that 12-month period. You could have a kitchen fire. You could have an auto wreck. So to say that there's a profit, it's not a guaranteed profit. And again, my belief, free market, you let the consumer decide what is, if it's too expensive, the consumer will say, I'm not going to afford that product. I can't afford it, or I choose not to buy that product anymore. Right now, in the current environment, when you only have a few companies that are willing to write business, it certainly seems like a good thing. But again, the long-term effect is that it is discouraging companies from coming back to Louisiana. Again, you and I as consumers, we want choice. And right now, we don't have choice. We just want to set the conditions so that companies feel like they're going to be treated fairly, that they get to manage their book of business, that they get to deploy their capital where they see fit, just like they get to do in Texas and Mississippi and Alabama and Florida and all the other states in America. We just need to make sure that we aren't just competing for capital to come in. We're competing against those other states, because those insurance companies get to pick wherever they want to go do business. And so we want to make sure that Louisiana is a state where they say, I get treated fairly, the regulations are fair and just, and that's where I want to go and do business.
Wouldn't you say Louisiana is already a tough market for insurance companies to do business anyway? Because, especially us in the southeast Louisiana area, in the New Orleans and coastal areas, we have a lot of natural disasters, hurricanes, and with climate change, would you say it's already a difficult place to get insurance companies to come and do business?
Well, look, we certainly have exposure to hurricanes in Louisiana, and that's why it's important to do things like the Fortified Roof Program. It is important that we mitigate the risk as best we can as a consumer. You don't want to make your home more susceptible to storms. You want to make sure that it's an attractive property for the insurance company to come and place their insurance on top of it. So yeah, we want to make sure that we promote and encourage stuff because, like I said, we have a large population in proximity to the coast. But look, other states have other issues, and they're constantly modifying. Alabama, coastal, they're a coastal state. They've had a fortified roof program in place for over a decade. They now have 45,000 fortified roofs. Louisiana, we've just got a handful. We need to make sure that we're promoting homes that are attractive for insurance companies to come and insure. Mississippi, they just passed legislation in Mississippi. They're creating a fortified roof program. So we need to continue. We're competing against those other states. If we aren't building better structures and other states are, then it makes those insurance companies want to go and insure those properties more than they do here.
I mean, that is one point of view, and I understand what you're saying, that you want to create more competition so that we have more options as homeowners to pick from companies, and that'll in return later on hopefully drive the rates down. But what is your response to people who say this? This is from Real Reform Louisiana. They said, quote, Temple did not propose a single reform that strengthens protections for families. What is your response to people who may say that?
Well, it's interesting that Real Reform has yet to offer any reform. They're very good at saying no to everything that's proposed. What we're proposing in the legislature, the package that I'm promoting and asking legislators for, is designed to encourage that competition. And competition is consumer protection. If you don't like the insurance company you're with, if it's too expensive, and you have 7 other insurance companies you can get a quote from, that's competition. That helps protect the consumer. Right now, that doesn't take place. And, I know Ben Riggs, we talk often at the Capitol. And look, I think his heart's in the right spot. I don't think he understands insurance.
But do you understand where they're coming from, or do you understand why homeowners may feel like some of their protections are being taken away?
Well, look,
do you get that?
No, I do, and I'll tell you this. Like I said earlier, we get phone calls and emails constantly of people saying that they cannot afford the insurance they have. I haven't gotten any emails. I haven't gotten any phone calls. I've not had one consumer come and tell me that they're leaving the state or that they're not buying insurance because they think that their consumer protections are being taken away from them. Well, look, we are promoting, with regards to auto, we have a bill to address collateral source, which has been a big problem in Louisiana for many years. Direct action is another bill designed to help rebalance the auto crisis that we're having. But I think specifically to your viewers, homeowners seems to be the one that most everybody talks about. We've got a bill that is promoting and encouraging a fair claims practice to bring back in balance and help the consumer and the insurance industry understand what the rules are, understand when a claim starts, how long they have to get a fair payment to the insured, to the claimant, what constitutes when there's a breach of that, and also a cure period, because a lot of times consumers feel that they need to litigate. And right before they do, we're proposing a cure period where the consumer and the insurance company can come together, have one last chance to try and fix whatever issues they're having before the consumer feels that they have to file litigation. So these are all, again, those are consumer protection. If you understand what the rules are and the insurance company clearly understands what the rules are, it helps have a better claims experience, and that is consumer protection.
Yeah. Do you think it's time for maybe an insurance overhaul just nationally, because it's a national issue? We're not the only ones dealing with an insurance crisis. What are your thoughts about maybe an overhaul of the insurance industry?
Well, look, we have a national program right now in the NFIP, and I don't think anyone would agree that that's working the way that they want it to. So I'm not a proponent of a federal program. I think that the free market can work. And look, each state has a unique risk. I don't think that we can just lump everybody together and create some type of nationalized program. I do think we need to have conversations and see if there is some other type of product that makes sense. But right now, in Louisiana, we need to focus and make sure that we're promoting healthy, strong, safe structures, and that we're creating a competitive environment where insurance companies are treated the same way in Louisiana as they are in other states, which, again, the consumer benefits from.
What do you want to say to all the homeowners and property owners out there who are desperate, who are struggling every day to make ends meet? Some of them are on fixed income and can no longer afford their monthly mortgage. What's your message to them?
Look, I certainly understand that the struggle is real for many families and many businesses in Louisiana. People are being forced to make some hard choices due to financial stress, and that is what I get out of bed in the morning and I come to this office and I go over to the Capitol and work every day to try and make a positive change so that as consumers, companies come back into Louisiana and we get the choice that we once had. I can't pass a law that orders insurance companies to lower their rates. As a regulator, I can't tell companies to lower their rates. If we try that, the ones that are left will leave this state. We have to focus on creating an environment that companies feel that they can come in, be treated fairly, and at the same time take care of the consumer when they have a legitimate claim. That's what my focus is, and the sooner that we can enact those changes, the sooner the consumers can expect companies to come back and start competing for their business.